Hey, Jim here from K2 Concepts, shooting a video on the motor of your hydrographic dipping tank. The choices, the reason why that we recommend and settled on a certain motor. We're going to explain the inner workings of a motor, what it can do to your tank and how it affects performance. So real quick, we're going to have a little Takati for the haters. I know that with this coronavirus going on, I've had to shift gears a little bit. So a little Takati for the haters. Okay, that being said, all right, motors seem to be like a big mystery for guys that have tanks, building tanks. Maybe they've had a tank and the motor's gone bad. What do I do now? We're going to show you what we've done, and we've done a lot of research on it. We've played with a couple different motors, mainly because we were experimenting with what works best. Now for us, we've had a half-horse motor in our tank since we bought it in 2006, so it's been 14 years now. It just went out. So we're going to replace it with another motor, same size, same volume, everything, because it ran so well. I mean, it did perform for 14 years, and the only reason that we're replacing it is because the impeller, unfortunately, with this tank that we got, the impeller was plastic, so it eventually broke down. You got to remember, there are certain chemicals that you put in your tank which they evaporate eventually, but they are in your water, and as you circulate it, anything in that water stream is going to get affected by it. So what I'm going to do is explain to you exactly why what makes this pump, the centrifugal pump, so different. So anyhow, this is a half-horse centrifugal pump. This is a Flowtech, I think it's a 5512 half-horse centrifugal pump. Now, as you guys go through and you look and you'll research on Amazon or something like that, and you'll find all kinds of half-horsepower motors. But the reality is that you need the volume that this volute makes, okay? You've got the motor. It's going to be half horse, it could be 3/4 horse, it could be 1 horse. This assembly, you know, you have your choices on it, but the real key to it is this component right here. This is called a volute. This is what will give you the volume, okay? This is approximately about 8 inches wide. So as you look for other half horsepower centrifugal pumps, you're going to see a lot of smaller ones. They're like for 50 bucks on eBay and Amazon. But the volute is only about that big around. It's not going to give you the volume, okay? And trust me, because we played with them, we tried them, they don't work. You need something with a big volute, okay? So you got the motor, you got the volute. The volute is what's going to give you the volume to push that, to get that water rippling across the surface. If you don't, you're going to end up with something like this. This is a half-horse sump pump from Harbor Freight. And you can see that it's barely moving the water. It barely doesn't even go over the dam. It's not creating the volume that it needs. So as a result, while it may clear the top of the tank adequately, it pushes the chemicals and the unused film residue out of the way. The reality is that it's not giving it enough volume to get over into your sump and exchange the heat, mix with the heated water in there and get that back into your tank. So your tank's always going to run a little cold. It's just the way it is. So this demonstrates why you want to change over to a minimum half horse. 3/4 horse we found almost creates a little different scenario. It's like too much water. We always have to throttle those back. If you've got a 1-inch feed into your spray bar is designed correctly, half horse is all you need, despite how big the tank is. Okay, it's all in the delivery. So if you think about it, when you have a garden hose and you've got X amount of water coming through, and then you put a nozzle on there and you tighten up that stream, you end up getting more velocity. That's the same principle, but you gotta have the ability to push it, and that's what a larger volute will give you, okay? So that being said, stick with a half horse centrifugal pump. You have the volute on top. Now this can be rotated, all right? So you may want to rotate this depending on your setup. It's a standard motor mount format. I think this is a frame, a 52 frame, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe wrong on that, so don't quote me, but it's got a standard frame. This can be adapted for 115 or 230. The instructions come with it, and it's actually are pretty detailed. Back in the day, this used to be a lot smaller, but it's got instructions to convert it over from 115 to 230. I think it comes standard from the factory wired at 115. So if you have 220, it's going to be a little more efficient. But if you've got a small home tank, garage build, whatever, 115 is fine if that plugs into everything that your tank is built around. The other thing you got to remember is you're priming the pump and your assembly of the pump. Now this, I don't remember this coming with the older pumps, but basically what you want to do is hold on to your fittings with a pipe wrench when you're cranking your new fittings on. So get them tight, but don't start spinning the rest of the fittings onto this because you'll crack these hubs apparently. So I'd be careful about that as your assembly goes forward. You got a 1 inch and you got an 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches on your intake, 1 inch on your discharge. So you will have two different fittings. Be mindful of the construction of your fittings. You may want to put some stainless ones on there. If you put PVC fittings on this, eventually they're going to wear out or crack, so be careful that way as well. Stainless steel fittings are a little expensive, but you might not have to replace it in the long term. You may want to go with maybe Schedule 80 on the PVC fittings. We haven't played with those too much, but I know they last a lot better than regular Schedule 40. All right, so lastly, you also have the priming. If you notice, you've got 3 bolts on the top of this. This will allow you to vacate the air. If your pump can't get going, in other words, it starts spinning and all it's doing is moving air because it can't create a vacuum on the water coming in. There's various reasons, I'm not going to get into it, but you can crack these, bleed the air out until you start to see a little bit of water, and then crank them back down. And then at that point, you will have let all the air out, and the pump can function normally. So that's it. Again, 1/2 horse motor, but the volute. The volute is the key. You gotta have a large volute, and that will deliver the water that you guys need to make your tanks perform. A lot of tanks are out there, they're underperforming because guys have put in whatever motor they could find, whatever motor they could get down at Home Depot or Harbor Freight or whatever. These pumps are gonna run you at least a couple $100. But again, ours lasted 14 years, so I'm not, I don't think that's a bad deal for the money. So anyhow, that's it for this one. Again, a little Corona or little Tecate for the haters. We know we've been a little bit lax, but the business model is growing and things change, and it's tough to keep up with everything. But we're gonna start shooting 1 video a day as long as this whole lockdown is in place, because we want to get this information out to you guys and know that, hey, look, we're listening to you. We're also probably going to start Zoom streaming to help you guys. If you're going to be home, might as well practice dipping, right? Okay, so that's it for this one. Join us on the forum, k2forums.com. You can email me, k2forums@gmail.com, or get any supplies you need, activators, different paint guns on k2shoponline.com. Got it? Got it. Okay. That's it for this one. Look, I hope you guys are having a good day dipping, and I know things are tough, so, just hang in there. We'll talk to you later.